Welcome to another episode of Breaking the Mould. And I don't have Mark with me again this month. And hopefully we're going to get Mark back here pretty soon. We'll do some of our sort of original format Breaking the Mould podcasts. This one I've got Alex Ryan. And Alex Ryan, you'll probably have maybe seen some of the review videos that Alex did and some comparison videos that he did. And I just was really taken by how he put them together and the content within them. So we decided we'd have a conversation. So back a few weeks ago, we got together through Zoom and we had a great conversation. So we're going to share that with you here. Also today, just want to update you on a few other bits and pieces that's going on around here. 2 weeks ago, we just launched the Solace Weissenborn guitar. So that's our new acoustic lap steel guitar. And that's been really, really cool. You're going to be seeing more of that in the coming weeks and months. And I'm really excited actually about the content that we're going to create. I just love the sound of it. I love how it blends along with our other instruments. And it just has kind of opened up a whole new tonal palette in the Emerald lineup. So it's going to be fun just seeing that going into performances. We'll probably be seeing it in some cottage sessions that are coming up in the near future. And hopefully, if all goes well, we're going to be seeing some live music coming out of here as well, maybe even with an audience. So that's our ambition for this year, is that we can have some live events with an audience in the cottage. So that's something for us to look forward to. Coming out this week also, we've added some new guitars into our builder. So if you haven't been to the 3D builder, please go to emeraldguitars.com and go and find the builder. Have a look on there. We've added a lot of new designs in there, the new models. This week it's all about 12 strings. So up until now, really the X20 12 string was our main guitar we've been offering as a standard product. Now we're offering the X7 12 string and the X30 12 string, as well as an X20 lefty as standard features. So you're going to find them on the builder. You'll be able to see all the details, all the ins and outs of them in there. And I think they're going to be a great addition. 12 strings have been something that we've been really excited about over the last while. We've been doing a lot of 12 strings. And as a proportion to our 6 strings, we're probably pretty heavy on 12 strings. So definitely go check them out. Let us know what you think. So with the X7, that's giving you a short scale, small body 12 string. So it's 24-inch scale, going to give you a bit lower tension, and a really nice sound comes out of that X7 12 string. X30 is our big jumbo 12 string. So that gives you a big full 12 string sound. It's like an orchestra. It really is something special. So definitely check out those models. So anyway, that's enough from me. Please enjoy this interview and conversation with Alex Ryan. So Alex, good to talk to you again. Last time we talked was, I guess, a few months ago. You contacted me just asking a few questions that you had before you recorded your last review video.
Yeah, I was grateful for you to give me that time. I was interested to sort of get the behind the scenes look. Well, I wanted to be able to talk about a lot of the features in this guitar and make sure I was right and get sort of the background details and get any extra interesting tidbits that people might find, insightful, that you'd be willing to give me. And that was a great conversation.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did do that, because it's always good to be able to get accurate information out to people. And I suppose one of the things that we do see a lot is sometimes in forums there's the rumors, and there's the assumptions. And I was really impressed with just the video that you put together and just how thorough it was. And I thought it'd be really nice just to have a conversation with you and find out a little bit more about who you are.
Sure.
What do you do as a day job? Tell us a little bit about your musical journey and how it fits in with your life.
Sure. I'm a little groggy at the moment because I just finished 9 hours of reading X-rays. Wow. Behind my computer here is this where I sit right here and work all night, and we just get slammed with. I'm the night guy, so we get slammed with the ER stuff. People with all the chest pain and the fell off motorcycle and stepped on by a cow. We have a lot of country sites, so you get some interesting country injuries, ATV accidents, and all that kind of stuff. So I work nights and I finish up right about now. So
okay, so you're working in healthcare, but you're actually still working from home. So I hadn't actually thought of that. I just assumed like everybody in healthcare was still working.
Yeah, I'm a radiologist, and I used to work on site. The first few years I did it, And then they needed an evening guy. So I moved to that, and that was from home. And then when I moved here to Bloomington, Indiana, I worked at a local site for a while, and I did procedures. And then they needed more procedure stuff than I could offer. So now I'm just fully remote. So yeah, it's kind of the whole world's doing it now. So I don't feel quite as fancy, but
Yeah.
yeah,
You were ahead of the curve.
a little bit. Yeah, it has pros and cons. I mean, it's nice to be in your own environment. You get to play guitar all night. That part's pretty cool.
For sure.
But you miss having the community of people at work to go to, and I'm sure you guys have a limited staff there now, right?
Yeah. So it's the community side of things I think that is some of the toughest thing for a lot of people. We normally have 25 in the building here. Right now, I think there's 4 people that are doing various things. So it's a very different atmosphere, and everybody's kind of a separate place. So that normal conversation, we still have the chatter online through Messenger, but it's just not quite the same.
Not quite the same being able to just walk across the room and get into the sort of curbside conversations with people.
Yeah, that social thing. I think that's definitely one of the hardest things that this has caused. But maybe it's reminded us all just about how much we need personal contact, and how much we enjoy company of each other.
I'll tell you the best thing about it in terms of better contact is Zoom. I use Zoom all the time now. My father and mother and I, we would see each other once every 6 months and sort of chat here and there. We now, every weekend, we spend an hour sitting on Zoom and talking. It's the closest I've been to my parents in years. Wow. So so I'm grateful, for that.
Yeah, there's always a silver lining. So tell us about music. How does music fit in with your life and your journey?
Well, I actually wanted to ask you about this. I'm so fond of Emerald instruments. I was wondering if you could make me a special one. I played piano for the first 25 years of my life. Before I got into guitar. Is there any chance I could talk you into a carbon fiber piano?
Ooh, well, I don't know.
Some carbon fiber strings and
we've got the innards of a piano on the wall here behind us as a sculpture, and it. Yeah, actually, I've looked at pianos and I've thought it'd be really, really cool to build a really amazing case for a piano. I don't know whether we'll build all the entire structure, and there's a lot of components in there.
I got into piano tech work for a while. When I lived in Pittsburgh, I got in with the Piano Technicians Guild there. And I learned I got to hang out with the guys who were working for the symphony and the rebuilders. And it was a lot of fun because everything in a piano is 88 of them. So I'd go in and he'd show me how to do one thing. I'd do 88 of it, and then he'd buy me a tool. This guy, Joe DeFazio, was a buddy of mine. And it was a lot of fun. I loved the tech side of piano.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was a mediocre classical pianist for years and years. And then I always played, well, I don't know how far back you want to go. When I was 15, my parents split up. My mom met a new guy, and he showed up at the front door, and he was like 5'4" with a shock of hair sticking off the top of his head or a beret or something. And he was a professional guitarist and singer. His name was Don. And that Martin you see in the video is his guitar. So I was 15 at the time, and he had a huge influence on me. I'm kind of making a hero out of the singer guitarist. Going and seeing him play, that felt like a superpower to me, and always did throughout my life. When I got to college, my roommate was like a death metal Slayer guitarist,
Yeah.
And so I'd sit with his slasher black guitar and like folk, fingerpick folk tunes. So guitar was with me for a long, long time, but it wasn't until about 5 years ago that I finally started to learn how to sing. And that changed everything. And suddenly the guitar had a real role to play instead of just sort of for fun. And so started going to the bars and the open mics and all that stuff. And then from that, I got into songwriting. I wrote a whole rock opera just on my own for fun. And then I got involved in the theater people here, and somebody asked me to be a composer for her show. So I composed all the music for another musical. And it's been a very strange musical journey. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. So you've gone pretty deep then.
Yeah, well, wide at least, and deep in sometimes. Yeah.
So piano is kind of your first instrument then, and
yeah, I'm a hardcore classical piano guy.
Okay.
I've probably listened to every classical piano recording ever made, and I love that stuff. Do you
Is
know?
Is that a piano accordion I see behind?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So there was a girl at the coffee shop. Do you know the Decemberists? I'm actually wearing a Decemberists t-shirt right now. It's my favorite band. Um, the keyboardist from their band, when COVID hit, they were all kind of looking for side work, and she's the accordionist with them. And she was on Instagram and offered to give lessons. And I just bought an accordion just on a lark from somebody. And so I hit her up, and now the keyboardist from my favorite band is my accordion teacher, Jenny Conley from the Decemberists. So,
Cool.
so I do that now too. Yeah.
You know, the accordion is, if somebody ever asks me what the difference is between the NAMM show in California and the music messe in Germany, I always say it's the accordion is the difference. So you go to NAMM show, it's rock and roll, and you can't find a piano accordion. I don't even know if I've ever seen one there. But if you go to the music messe in Frankfurt, there's like a whole hall full of accordions, perhaps more than guitars.
You know, I've learned so much about music from playing the accordion, because it's like a violin. You create the note. You can have a crescendo, right? You hit a piano, it's always descending. And hit a guitar, anything plucked, it's loud and then it goes soft. But an accordion, you shape the notes. It's just such a very different approach to music. I'm sure violinists would find it more intuitive, but it's been a whole new. I've learned a lot.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, so you can kind of have that going up and down. It's like you've got your own wah-wah pedal there all the time.
Yeah, right. If you're an organist, I'm sure you're used to it. So I think the carbon fiber. I've seen a carbon fiber accordions. They look pretty good. Bill Tuna makes one. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I've maybe come across something all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway. Very cool. So tell us about guitars. Tell us you've got we've seen a couple of the guitars that you've had in the videos. Is that a Cole Clark that I see over your shoulder there?
Yeah, that was. Did you see the Amazon Prime show Patriot? If you haven't, it's really, really cool. Yeah. And he plays a Cole Clark in the streets of Budapest about the spy things he does in Buddy Mike. So I had to have a Cole Clark. I have way more guitars. The number and quality of guitars I have far outstrips my ability to play guitar. You saw the Taylor and the Martin. I have a very fancy. I have like 20 some, maybe 20 some guitars. But I'll tell you, and not this. I get it that when people get a new guitar, they think it's the one and only, but I am so fond of this guitar, and that's the right word for it. And I every time I walk by, I'm like, man, I'm really fond of that guitar. And it's because it's the right shape and size and beauty, and it plays, and it's just like, I don't know. It's kind of like, if you're into watches, or you could use watches or dating, either way. Like, you go for all the different flash and all different types, and you got to try out all these things. And then you find one that you're like, wow, I'm more interested in having like a relationship, like a long-term relationship with this. And I swear this is going to be that guitar. It's a really,
wow, that makes me really proud. It really does. Because we just do what we do, and I probably try and steer away a little bit from benchmarks. I leave it to somebody like you to do comparisons, and and you never set out to be. Maybe this sounds weird, but I don't set out to be the best, because I don't think there is the best. You want to be the best at what you do, but you don't set out to make the best guitar in the world, because it's subjective.
Right.
But when somebody who has a collection says, well, that's the one that connects with them, it doesn't mean that somebody else wouldn't connect with another one in your collection. But it's, if it's the right guitar for you, if we make the best guitar for one person, then we've done our job right. So that's.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I have my Gibson J200 on the wall here. I have stuff all over the place. And my X30 has been a magnificent guitar. I'll tell you what I like about the X20. I use the X30 I like because it has the boldness. Okay, as a pianist, I like grand piano. The bigger, the better when it comes to pianos. And I really like that about the X30. I love the sound of it. And for performing, I love the presence of it. But I found that I didn't pick it up as often around the house when I get into writing, just up and down and up and down. And the 20 is such a light, nimble guitar that it fills that role just brilliantly. And so that's as far as
I think that's an interesting thing to dig into, because I think different people have a different thing that they maybe gravitate towards, and what means the most to them. Like I talked recently to Billy Sheehan, the virtuoso bass player, and he has a couple of my guitars. And he said he picks up an X30 that I built for him many years ago. He picks it up nearly the most out of any of his guitars, because whenever he comes back from tour, he can pick that up and he knows it'll still be in tune.
Yeah.
So he grabs it first, and he said he just, so he plays it. I hear people saying, they play some of the Emeralds more than their other guitars because they're happy to have it sitting out.
Exactly.
They're not scared that their kids or their grandkids are going to knock it over. They're not scared that temperature and humidity changes are going to. So just purely because it's there more than the other guitar, it becomes their favorite. Or like you say, it's ergonomics, and I think it's maybe one thing for different people. So maybe it's a combination.
Sure. And I think that's just it, is that everybody has their profile of what they need from the guitar, what the relationship they need. And it's funny because if I'm playing a lot, if I'm practicing, I like the X30 because it hugs you.
Mm.
It fills the whole space like a good hug. Like, would you rather hug a tiny person or a huge person? Like, you'd rather hug a huge person. And if I'm standing up and like actually playing and performing, I love that instrument.
Yeah.
So that has that role. But then if it's a pick up and put down thing, yeah. So it's just, yeah, everybody's gonna have their own.
Yeah, because like for me, I think the X20 is probably the right size for me. If I was sitting down, I'd probably find the X7 that little bit too small for me. And for that same thing, I just like to feel that there is a little bit more substance there. But so the ergonomics is something I wanted to ask you about because I have a good feeling for ergonomics, and I design the guitars by feeling. But sometimes I maybe don't describe them, and certainly don't describe them as well as you describe them. I think I was listening to your video and how you were describing the ergonomics. I was thinking, that's the best description I've heard of the contours on the side.
I'm so grateful to have been able to make that video, and I hope it's valuable because I had so much fun. Like I said in our last time we talked, what I'm sort of plagued by boredom, I think, in life. And so any chance to get into a project where I can feel like if I do it well enough, it's going to have some value. And that's the key with projects, is you don't want to put a lot of work into something unless there's someone on the other end who will value it. So I hope people, like I said in the beginning, like I just wanted to make the review I'd want if I were looking. So I want someone, a lot of reviews, they show you the front of the guitar and they read off the specs and that's it. But you want to deep dive, you want to go be in and around, you want to know what it's like to hold and feel and be with this guitar. So that was the goal.
Yeah, and I think you did that really well. And from my point of view, as somebody who makes guitars, and obviously we try to sell them, and that's one of our main mediums. I think the world gets a little bit confused between reviews and entertainment. And sometimes the goal can be just to have a entertaining content, and something was a good performance and it's entertaining, but it doesn't really deliver the answers that you might need, to make a commitment. And I think that's where that one really kind of steps above. And we're always trying to find that balance, and it's a tough balance because sometimes if it's not entertaining enough, people are like, it's boring.
Yeah.
So it's
well, and I made a 30-minute video. I have one friend who's a devout guitarist purist. He pulled it up. He's like, it's too long. No one will watch it. I don't want to watch it. I'm like, I totally get it, but I'm targeting the diehards. There are going to be people, if you want to make a purchase like this, especially because you guys don't have dealers and so on, like somebody who's going to make this dive wants to get as close as possible to make the purchase. And so,
and even it's not even about about making a purchase. Like, we're all guitar geeks, we just want to hear more things about guitars. So it's
the one thing I wish I'd done.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just say the other thing outside guitars that fascinates me is cars. I'm a complete car nut, and I just watch long videos all the time. So that's kind of my comparison. I think, well, I'm willing to sit there every night and watch a 60-minute review on the latest car that come out. So
yeah, exactly. I tell you, that video made me want to up my audio game. I'm shopping for microphones and stuff, and the one thing I wish I could have done for that video is a more like high level guitar recording. Like, I did it right, but I could have done better. And
we always are going to think that, I think, and that's the tough thing. And you address that actually quite well by doing the comparisons, because then at least you're comparing from a benchmark that maybe people have in their mind, or you can hear the differences to an extent. We've been on this journey to try and increase the quality of our recordings, and we went to some studios and had high quality studio recordings, and we come back and we listen to them, and they're like, I don't know. Is it any better? It still doesn't sound like my guitar. I think you can't really get that experience of, what it is like when you sit there. And maybe the offset sound hole even makes that harder because it gives you, I think, an experience that's maybe a little bit beyond just the audio. It's just how it projects and it comes towards you, and that's really hard then to capture in a recording.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that's what got me is that I made the whole video and I listened to it. And I was like, I mean, it sounds fine, but it sounds better when I play it. And when I sit down with the guitar, I'm like, I swear, So, but yeah, like I said in the video, I did go back when I originally mic'd in 3 different positions, and the room difference was so striking from we just which way the guitar was pointed. So I went back and re-recorded everything without moving anything, just and I dubbed it in over the video just to at least make it steady from. Anyway.
But I think that's what makes guitars so fascinating. It's there's so many things that are working together. There's you make a physical box that projects sound, but then you put different strings on it. You put a different nut and saddle on it. You put it into a different room. You put different fingers on it. You play with a pick.
Different
all those
mood.
different things after you make the guitar all have an influence on it, and then we all hear slightly different. So it's what makes it the most frustrating thing about making guitars, but also the most engaging.
I was going to ask you about this. Yeah, one time I took 5 of my best guitars and I went in a circle and I played them all one after another, and I got very strong impressions about one. But then by the next time I came around to it, my impression had changed completely. And by the third time I came around, I'm like, wait, like, is this the same guitar? The subjectivity of the stuff is crazy. But yeah,
I think it's a little bit like wine tasting. If you're doing wine tasting, you have to cleanse your palate in between. I don't know how you do it, but somehow we maybe have to cleanse our ears in between or something. Or like I find, if I'm setting up a guitar and I'm testing it through the amp, and then I go back to trying to listen to some things with it just purely acoustically, I find that transition really hard. You have to kind of tune back into hearing it at a different volume level in a slightly different way, so.
Did you ever hear about the study? It's a real study. I looked it up in 2011. Someone did a wine tasting study where they took a bunch of white wines and dyed them red, and they gave them to real wine tasters. And all the wine tasters tasted them all, came up with opinions, wrote about them. Not one person said, "Hey, wait a minute, this tastes like white wine, red." No one did it. You can find this published thing. I love that study forever, and I think it's a great, refresher of insight for all this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going to ask you, so I've played 3 X20s in my life now, and I was struck by how different each one was. One time when I originally got the X30, I got the X30 and the X20 together because I could only afford to keep one, but I had both. And then I ended up selling the X20, but I brought it along with me to a friend who had an older X20, and we didn't have the same strings or anything, but they sounded different to me a lot in that context. And so it left us with a question of, do X20s all sound the same? Do they sound different from year to year? Do things change over time? Can you even answer that question?
Over the years, we've fundamentally changed the X20. So the very first X20 that we built was, it had a hollow neck. It had a much lighter structure in the body, and was made using a slightly different layup and different resins. So it was quite a different guitar. And that really, I think we made sort of a fundamental change to that about 4 or 5 years ago. And then, from there on, we've been on a path that's been relatively consistent. Certainly when we changed from the hollow neck to a solid neck, that made a big, big difference. And then a few other tweaks. And yes, if I was to sit and had a row of 5 X20s that were made last week, I think you will be able to hear little nuances. But if I put them down and try to pick them up, and I would probably hear, sure. They're not like I could describe them. They're there, but it would be, they're pretty close.
The thing we get asked a lot is the difference between a guitar with a wood veneer on it and without. Right. And there is, yes, there is little subtle details that we can hear, you know, when you're here doing side by side comparisons, but not to a really descriptive level. You know, it's subtleties, but the fundamentals are all still very much preserved.
Furthermore, every different wood has a different density and grain structure and pattern. But like that was my biggest. That was the question I found most interesting when we spoke last time. Is that, you know, it starts out at less than a millimeter thick, and by the time it's polished down, it's like a third of a millimeter thick. And and a sheet of carbon fiber is about that thickness, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, so we balance it out. We take a little bit of carbon out. We're adding that little bit of wood in, and you know, and then taking it away to being a very, very small structure. So yeah, it's it has an impact, but it's a very subtle impact. And I think, you know, that we do see with our ears or see with our eyes as well. And I think sometimes, you know, you look at a guitar and it'll maybe be a different color or something. Somehow, like you mentioned about the white and red wine, that can influence us, you know. But the bottom line is, you know, you just have to find the guitar and love it
and play well. I think people put so much emphasis on whether the guitar sounds right or not, and I always feel like they're distracted. They're trying to get attention away from whether they've practiced their scales and, you know, how good their timing is. Yeah, the truth is, I'm a kind of a heathen when it comes to guitar sound, and I think that's why is you can spend an awful lot of time talking about how the guitar sounds, but if you spend all that time practicing, take the lowest entry, the entry level good sounding guitar, put it in Eric Clapton's hands, and give me $100,000 Martin. And which one are people going to buy in a blind? Right? Obviously, you're like, play well, don't worry about this stuff. Yeah. Reminds me of a guy who said, I asked him, I was very concerned one time about cutaway versus non-cutaway guitars. And he's like, oh, dude, yes, they've done the studies. Yes, it makes a 1% difference in sound. It doesn't matter. Anyway.
Yeah, you know, yeah, those there's a lot of those small things that are, you know, they're things that are useful to talk about. And
it's
you know,
fun.
whenever we're on forums, we're always looking for the you know, the little details to talk about. But yeah, you know, it's every player will influence a guitar probably way more than the actual guitar will influence them. But that, for me, actually, one of the things that really excites me is when somebody embraces the tone of a guitar that we have, and then that has in turn influenced how they make music. You know, I always say that I'm a frustrated guitar player. You know, I would love to be more of a guitar player, but I feel that I'm part of the music by just by the guitars that we make. You know, when you put a guitar in somebody's hands, it'll you know, steer them a little bit in one direction or another, and invariably the music they make on it will be slightly influenced by the instrument they play on. You know,
I find this guitar inspiring. It's beautiful. It sparkles. You pick it up, and it calls. I find it very easy to. I know it's true. What you're saying, that sort of ghost in the machine, is that some guitars you pick them up, and nothing much happens, and some guitars you can just find a song in it.
Yeah.
And I find it's very easy to find a song in this guitar, and I think it is a lot about the sound hole and a lot about it just rewards you more. I don't know. It gives you a lot. I love the sound hole.
I love that thought of you know, there's songs in it. We had a recent podcast with a guitar maker here, Fitzhoward, and he does a lot of guitar repair and builds, you know, 4 or 5 beautiful guitars every year. And we were just talking in the podcast just about the concept of different guitars having more songs in them. You know, I see you'll encounter people that they'll have a collection of beautiful guitars, and it might be the most beat up, ugly looking guitar, and they're saying that's the one that has all the songs in it. Yeah. You pick it up and it just inspires them. And I probably would go as far as to say that's not something that I, as a guitar maker, can design for.
Oh, come on, you know, you pump them full of songs.
But you know, but that mojo, you know, we just do things the best that we can, and if somebody comes back and says that's the one that makes them play the songs, then that's a really cool thing. So we've talked a lot of things that you love about Emeralds. have to give you an opportunity to tell me what you don't love. Is there anything in there that is a little bugbear you'd like to change?
I have been shoveling the front drive with mine, and it's okay. I gotta give the nod to the actual shovel though. It's not quite as good. No, that's always been my John Don, the guy who gave me the D20. There's always his joke about the carbon fiber guitars. You can shovel one. That's an interesting question. There are necks that I like a little better. I find the neck to be a very good all-arounder neck. There are some that are a little faster for me. Not a lot, just a little bit. So that's probably the only, as far as playing at the design thing. I don't know. It's funny. Nothing has come to mind to bring up. I can think about this and come back to you with it.
Well, if you come up with anything, you can let me know. Now, I might steal one of your ideas because I loved how you connected the little tuner inside the sound hole.
Oh yeah. Haven't you guys been doing that?
Yeah, but we have a little like holder that we clipped it onto with a piece of carbon, but the magnet idea I might steal.
Yeah, just the first time I did it so it was north and north, and I went to put it in there. I'm like, oh, you. So I had to go get another tuner and fix it. I have that tuner stuck to my refrigerator now.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a really smart way of doing it, and just even the mechanical connection that gives.
Right. Well, that's the thing I had the dual lock holding it on, and it was okay, but I feel like good rigid sound connection is better. So
yeah,
I'm glad
makes
you like
a lot
that.
of sense.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of comments on your videos and maybe questions that have been asked. Have you got any questions that you'd like to kind of come back maybe to me, some things that maybe people have been asking you?
At first it was the comments like, my favorite one was the guy who said, "Ugh, great guitars, poor host." And I was like, oh, don't say that. So then I said something. I said, poor in charm perhaps, but rich in guitars. So I got hung up on the personal ones at first. But no, people have been very warm about the video. Some people, it seems like a mix of people who are just very grateful, and some people have interesting substantive questions about what did somebody just asked a question? Oh yeah, it was just whether the last note of the previous guitar was the bass. And it's funny how different people's opinions about the sound is. Right? So one guy's like, the Taylor's the best, the Martin's the best, the X20 is the best. People just fight to the death over this. And what who watch the video see the comments and just see the variability and absolute conviction over which one sounds best. Kind of back to what we were talking about, the subjectivity of it. No, I'm grateful for the warm comments. Nothing else really stood out. Did anything catch your eye?
Well, was there any technical questions that maybe you wanted to refer back to me that anybody was asking or anything?
Let me. Nothing that I can think of from there. Is there anything that you noticed in there?
No, I don't think so much. Well, I think the one thing you did at the end was you did the little instructional on how to do the pinless bridge.
Sure, yeah.
But
is there a smoother way to do it?
I think there's a smoother way to do it. I think I'm gonna have to do a video.
Yeah. In brief, can you tell me what you do?
Well, the key for me is to put a little bend in the end of the string. So instead of trying to pull a string that's straight that then always tries to spring up, all you have to do is literally just put a little 90-degree bend about quarter inch up from the ball end.
And that kick.
And then whenever it's down in that little slot, it'll just always try and push itself forward, and that makes a world of difference to stop it from always wanting to jump out of the slot.
That makes sense.
So that's my little trick. But then there's just a couple other things. But we should do a video on that sometime.
It makes perfect sense. And I think that crossed my mind, but I wasn't confident that the kink would stay forward. I thought it might twist or something. But no, if that's the way you guys do it, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So that little tiny thing.
Okay.
So.
How are we doing on time? Can I run some questions by you? Or do you
sure.
have something else? Okay. Okay. So there was a question that comes up. I forget where it landed. Somebody said, I really want one of these. There have been some questions about quality control stuff, and that's one of the things on the forums that comes up once in a while. And every time it comes up, it seems to me that they gripe to the forum and then they talk to you, you address it, and you either fix it. And my guess is that every time something like that comes up, you guys tweak the system. But I was just wondering if you had any,
Yeah, listen, that's a good question, and I'll take it on the chin. We don't get everything perfect. We strive to, but we don't get everything perfect. What I will say is, and probably some people disagree, our quality is improving every single year.
Right.
Every year, without fail, I think I can always look back and say that we made better guitars than the year before. But also, I think the speed of the internet seems to be somehow like even keeping it at a bigger pace. I think it's because we have many more guitars out there. We have many more customers now. I think people talk more on forums, and then they discuss the issues, so you hear about them more, which is a good thing. It's not good for somebody to have an issue and not have a forum to discuss it on, or not have a way to get it back to us. So we want to hear those things. And then we hear them, we invariably address them. We had issues on how the fretboard was finished, and it was a tricky thing for us, just because of our process and how we got it right. We moved it to unidirectional carbon fiber veneer on the fretboard, which just really made a big change in terms of quality there.
And beautiful, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
I'm curious to ask you more about that, but go ahead.
Yeah. So, it's a never-ending journey. There's always more. I don't think you can ever make something perfect, but there's always more to learn. And like, I have to be careful, because sometimes I read a comment or it's passed on to me, and I find it, I take it personally a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And it's, but then I have to stop myself from like not getting annoyed about it, or, thinking, well, that guy's, trying to, screw me over or something. And it's like, no, if it's not right, then we have to solve it. And I suppose the philosophy that we take here is that every single guitar is important. If somebody is buying a guitar to add to their collection of 100, that's really important. If somebody has saved up their money and has chosen us out of all the other guitars to buy that one guitar, then that's super important. It's like, that's the most important thing. So we always try and take the approach that it's a privilege to get to build a guitar for somebody, and we have to get it right, and not take that for granted. And we always have to keep reminding ourselves of that, because, in the midst of running a business and, just guitars flowing through the place, it is easy to sometimes forget about that guitar is an individual stream. It's not just a guitar.
It's funny, as I look past your head at the inside of someone's skull. Remember, I'm a radiologist. I mean, I read about 120 cases a night, and every single one of those is a real person. But it's very, very easy, because there's a lot of time pressure on. You're slamming through, and you got to get through this, PE studies, and it's a constant battle to balance efficiency, because of course the company wants to make money, and there's a bunch of other people, and the next guy down the list could have a bleed in his brain. But every single time you have to remember that this is a real person. This is this person's most important thing in this day, and you have to. And there's an art to that. There's a responsibility, a privilege in being given the responsibility to do that.
Yeah.
And it's an intense.
Yeah. So, like, I think for me personally now, it's gone from a stage of me personally being in charge of making sure everything is perfect, to me communicating with my team how important it is for everything to be perfect, because I can't physically watch everything anymore. It's scaled, and we just keep on that journey. And so, like, for everybody that's listening, if you have an issue with anything, definitely get in touch. The last thing I want is somebody out there who's disgruntled and it's a problem, and that we think that we won't solve it. We will try and solve it in the best way that we can. That's and it's like, it should be important for every company. It's even more important for us because of the fact that we don't sell through stores. We ship the most of our guitars to the other side of the world, and so people have to have a lot of trust that if they part with that kind of money, that we're going to give them the backup. It's we have to do that. We don't. There's no choice. It just has to be, and we do. So.
Well, and it shows up on the forums. Everybody, for every one of those I've seen, somebody else has come through and said, Emerald has your back. Emerald cares so much about this quality.
Yeah.
They'll do anything to make it right. And,
and we're working on some very specific things to keep on, on quality. Right. Yesterday, we just had a new paint booth delivered, 2 new paint booths delivered. So we're putting in a state of the art paint system. We're actually just kitting out an entire new factory space here, about 10,000 square feet of extra space. And we're really excited about that because it allows us to kind of reimagine some of the things that we do, so you're starting again on some of the processes in the new space, and so you can refine quality and just put new controls in place. So so what I will say to everybody is it's something I'm open to, something I'm aware of, and I'll always take it in the chin. At the end of the day, if there's a problem, it stops with me.
Scalability is interesting. So is that part of 10,000 feet's a lot of room. I've been to I've been to the Martin factory in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, and it was weird to see. It's just a huge building full of people making guitars. Is that the vision? I mean, as the market, as your sales increase, is it?
That's actually a good question, because it's the vision kind of keeps on changing. And, I don't think, maybe at the very early days, when I was young, mid-20s, and I thought, we're going to take over the world, we're going to be as big as Martin Taylor, and then it probably subdued, and I went into a much more smaller period where I was really just looking at every individual guitar and wanting to keep it really small. But I think as I've improved the guitars, improved the processes, and design new guitars, now the benchmark really is to see the guitars kind of fulfill their potential. When I see things like the X20, which I just believe is a really special instrument, I just want to see more of them out there because other people should engage with it. Things like the X10, which I think has got some huge potential, and some other things. So it's, I think every year we just see the potential starting to increase, and it gives us more opportunities, and we just want to pursue them. So it's kind of driving itself a little bit, and I'm just embracing it. Obviously you have to plan, otherwise things get messy. So we are putting plans in place, and this year we're putting a plan in place by the end of the year that we'll probably double our production and taking it up towards 40 guitars per week. So it's
Is it just a matter of doing the same thing but more of it, or is there a point when you're scaling up where you buy the real big machine, where you buy the laser blaster and you sell the hand tools, or is there a big jump in there anywhere?
I guess there's a little bit at the moment, because we are embracing some CNC technology, and we're bringing in some equipment, but it's still not a very automated system of how we make our guitars. There's still a lot of handwork that's involved, and so a lot of it is still scaling up people. It's not like just buying the guitar manufacturing machine. We can't just put material.
Guitar-o-matic.
It's not out there. I've done that Google search, but yeah, there's certain refinements. So we are, at the moment, we're kind of future-proofing ourselves on a 5-year plan, and we're setting up the factory space and the equipment that we're going to need really for what our 5-year plan is. And but people are the most important resource, and that for me has been a big transition recently, because I used to get frustrated always thinking that I needed to clone myself. I just couldn't do enough. And then about a year ago, I started to get the realization that you can clone yourself by teaching people. So I've kind of having to take this transition. I'm learning it really poorly. I'm going on the transition really to becoming a teacher as much as a maker, and trying to free up space, that I'm not just at the bench trying to do something, have somebody watch me. It's have them doing it, and I watch them and instruct them. And that's a really tricky thing to do. It's it involves releasing some control and putting responsibility into others. But actually, it's been rewarding, and making good progress.
Do you have kids?
Yes, I got 4.
Oh wow, okay. So yeah, there must be some parallels between letting the kid do the thing the first time, even though they might break it, but then letting them learn. And
yeah, I think it is quite similar. Yeah, you do have to have patience, but you also, and this is the really important part, we have to find ways to do that that's not on somebody's $4,000 guitar.
Yeah, right.
And that's a hard thing. Like we'll sometimes have people asking, can they come in here and work as an intern or something? It's like, it's really hard to find something that, you can let somebody loose on. You're building something really special for somebody. So it's hard to just have a go on that,
And you've probably put the 10,000 hours of handwork into this sort of thing. And you cannot teach someone that. You can only learn it through your own 10,000 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely done that 10,000 hours a few times over at this stage.
Yeah. That was another question. How much, I think I have a general sense of this, but how much hands-on guitar building do you do at this point? And has that changed much in the past, year or two?
It fluctuates. It depends on what I'm doing at the time. Over the past year, I've probably done a lot less because of, kind of been working on developing the business and the team. Recently, because we're kind of on lockdown at the moment, then I've been getting right back into custom work, and I love it. I mean, I will say it's a thing that I'll do 9 to 5. I just, when there's nobody else here and I can just focus on custom projects, to me, that's my heaven. Like a Saturday, sometimes I'll come in here and work on projects. But yeah, I don't do as much kind of direct guitar manufacturing as I used to. But yeah, like at the moment I'm working on there's 4 guitars sitting on my bench at the moment, a 9-string, an 8-string, a 12-string baritone, and a custom 7-string. So that maybe explains a little bit about the kind of things that I get a kick out of.
Sure, yeah. Like an advanced composer doesn't want to write any more folk songs. He wants to get experimental and write the interesting stuff.
Yeah, I'm getting into the deeper stuff. So
I briefly worked in a lab for building robotic hands in Chicago, and there was an Irish. The guy who led the lab was Irish, and what he liked was building robotic hands. But now he had to do all this, grant writing and taking care of students and data management, all that stuff. But on the weekends, he'd go into the lab and build robotic hands, and that was, yeah.
And I think it's really important for us to still always keep involved in that, because I think you always have to remind yourself of why you got into something. People sometimes have success in something and it brings them away from what it was that they actually love to do. I know so many business people that have been successful in their business and they find that now they don't do that anymore. They do office work and they solve problems all day. And, I hear of teachers, some teacher friends that, love teaching and then they got promoted and they find they're in more of an administration role and it's not what they love anymore. And so success can sometimes take you away from the pleasure. So I want to create as much space. For me, the biggest success in this business would be if I got it to a level where I could just be the guy in the corner.
Yeah. The old master. You have to grow your hair out real long and crazy so you can just be there. Who is that guy? That's
Alistair. Don't talk to him. He's in the So that's what I want to be. I want to be the guy who's just there making interesting stuff and being creative, so
that'll be a great arc. I'm so I don't know. Watching you have started with a vision and be here where you are now and then seeing into the future. I think that's such a cool arc. I think so few people get to do that, to have a vision, make it come to life, do it as well as you've done it, and then still keep going. Like, what a great, it's a great adventure to be on.
Yeah, well, I feel blessed to have found that relatively early on. It is about finding that thing, and the thing that just gives you pleasure and gives you motivation, and that you have some skills at, and then that allows you to keep on pursuing
and make this amazing piece of musical magic.
Cool. Well, listen, I think that's probably a good place to draw this to an end.
Oh wait, can I throw one last question in?
Yeah, sure.
The mugs. Tell me the provenance of the mugs. Did you know someone? Where did this come from?
Started about 7 years ago now, and I decided that it'd be nice to give a gift along with the guitar, something that was you had a commemorative kind of thing. But I didn't want it to be just, you know, another pen or a T-shirt or it has to be something a little bit deeper. And I wanted it to be rooted in our own heritage here. So I found a local guy who was making the mugs initially, just in a little tiny studio just behind us. And I thought,
Okay.
it can't just be a mug. It has to be my favorite mug. So whenever you get one of those mugs, it has to be my favorite mug. So I set out to make the best mug for me. And I had a mug that had the perfect amount of coffee in it. And, you know, always when I got to the bottom of that mug, it was just enough. So that was the measurement. That was the size that it had to be. So, you know, that was the pursuit with the mugs. And so we've moved now to actually a different potter, again, in our county, in the small scale shop. And it's just really nice. I think it kind of like a guitar is something that's very personal. You know, it's something that you embrace. And I think everybody has their favorite mug that they go to, and, you know, you do kind of embrace it in the same way, and you interact with it. So the mugs have become a really cool thing. So somebody asked me actually just last night, can they buy a mug just by itself? And I said, well, you can, but they start around about $2,000. So, we don't sell them. They only come with guitars.
What's the potter's name?
Well, so the company that we're using at the moment is cheaper. The name has just gone completely out of my head.
Well, that's okay. Do they play guitar? Well, yeah. Does anybody there play guitar?
No, I don't think they do play guitar, but they make great cups and mugs.
Good mugs, yeah. Okay, cool.
So so they're just like on almost the most northerly point of Ireland, in the Inishowen Peninsula, in a little town called Moville. So looking out over the ocean. So it's nice to be able to do that. And the mugs, it's kind of like it's the worst kept secret. You know, we don't really talk about the mugs so much in our promotions or anything. It's not listed, I don't think, in our website.
Yeah, I can't say I've seen it anywhere.
It's that cool thing that you get. So
little surprise, yeah. Cool.
And it's really nice when you see somebody with a collection of mugs.
I have a collection for sure. Yeah.
So
cool. My wife has most of them, I think.
So we might have to. I think we're going to redesign it. We would plan to release a new mug for 2021, and then we haven't been able to travel to get up there to work with them to do a redesign. So we must do that sometime soon. So at some stage this year, you might see a slightly altered Emerald mug. So
I'll have to get one from each, season or whatever. Cool. So, well, thank you so much for doing this. It's really fun to get a chance to just chat and catch up and ask some questions. Yeah,
it's we were just really intrigued. Just why you put so much effort into putting those videos together, and we really appreciate that you've done that. And not in a way to benchmark our guitars as being better than another guitar, but to just give information about our guitars. And I think that's the best part. It's been very informative to people, and given them the opportunity for them to make a decision of what they like.
Just that video needed to exist, and I wanted it to be there, and it wasn't there, so I made it. That's all. I hope people like it.
Well, cool. Alex, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, and hopefully we'll get to meet in person someday.
Yeah, I think it may happen. My wife and I talk about Ireland a lot, so look forward to that.
Do that. We'll see you here. Okay.
Thanks, Alistair. All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Hope you enjoyed that. It's always nice to have a conversation with Alex. He's a very interesting guy, very knowledgeable, and I just love the way he put together his review videos. Really, really well done. Thanks for doing that. That's always a great asset. It's just nice to see how other people approach creating content and putting out those comparisons. Also, the other exciting thing that's going on here at the moment is the building. You might even hear some noise in the background here. We've been doing a lot of building work. We're expanding our factory. We're expanding it by a multiple of about 5. Actually, it's going to be a huge step up. We've got a lot of new equipment, a lot of new space. We're bringing in some new employees, and it's really exciting to see Emerald Guitars just going to the next level. We're doing things now that I've been dreaming about for the last 20 years. That's really, really exciting. So we're going to have you follow along with that over the coming weeks. We're going to start showing you some content. We'll probably put some pictures and stuff up on our Instagram and Facebook and various different places. So so we're excited to see this building progressing. The building that we're in right now, the history of it is it's actually the building that my father built way back, I guess 30 years ago, for Kestrel Toys, which was our family business. We used to manufacture children's outdoor toys like swings and slides and go-karts and all that kind of thing. And unfortunately that business kind of came to an end in around about 2007, 2008. And the factory space has been here ever since. We used a little small portion of it for building guitars, but most of it's been sitting pretty much derelict for the last 12, 13 years. So it's really, really exciting to see that coming back to life. My dad comes over here every other day just to check on the progress, and it's cool to see his face when he sees it just coming back to what it could be, you know, and we're taking it bigger and better than it ever was. So thanks for following along on everything we do. You know, it's really, really great to connect with an audience. We're here in an isolated part of Ireland in County Donegal. Beautiful, beautiful area. But we're reaching out to people all around the world. We send our guitars to every corner of the world. And that's one of the most exciting things about how we do our marketing and how we approach doing a direct sale. It allows us to connect closer with you guys. You know, on a daily basis, we're getting emails and messages and pictures sent in. And it's just so much more connected than if we were just selling it out to a distributor and out through dealer networks. You know, this way we get to connect directly to you guys. So thanks for being part of that. We'll keep on making content. You guys keep watching it. Make sure you keep subscribing as well. It's getting harder and harder to get stuff out to you guys. So subscribe to our newsletter. We'll send out information on that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and keep an eye on everything we've got going on. So catch you very soon.